Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Does anybody like to share anything? Share my screen. Yeah.
Yes. हमारा जीवन सदा पापी रत नाही को पुण्येरा लेशा परेरा उद्वेगा दिया छे कोटो दिया छे जीवेरा क्लेशा निज सुख लागी पापे नहीं दौरी दयाहीन स्वार्थपार परा सुखे दुखी सदा मिथ्या भासी परा दुख सुखकार आशेष कामान हृदि माजी मोरा क्रोधिदम्बा परायणा मदा मत सदा विषाय मोहित हिंसा गर्व विभूषण निद्रालस्य हठ सुकार्य विराट अकार्य उद्योगी आम्ही प्रतिष्ठा लागिया साथाय आचरण लोभ हट सदा होना दुर्जन सज्जन वर्जित अपराधी निरंतरा शुभ कार्य शून्य सदा नर्थ मन नाना दुखी जरा जरा बाळ देखो ना उपाय विहीन टाटे दीन किंचना भक्ति विनोदा प्रभुरा चरणे कोरे दुख निवेदना हमारा जीवन सदा पापे रत नाही को पुण्येरा लेशा परेरा उद्वेगा दिया छे कोटो दिया छे जीवेरा क्लेशा. Translation. I am an impious sinner and have caused others great anxiety and trouble. I have never hesitated to perform sinful acts for my own enjoyment. Devoid of all compassion, concerned only with my own selfish interests, I am remorseful, seeing others happy. I am a perpetual liar, and the misery of others is a source of great pleasure for me. The material desires within the core of my heart are unlimited. I am wrathful, devoted to false pride and arrogance, intoxicated by vanity, and bewildered by worldly affairs. Envy and egotism are the ornaments I wear. Ruined by laziness and sleep, I resist all pious deeds. Yet I am very active and enthusiastic to perform wicked acts. For worldly fame and reputation, I engage in the practice of deceitfulness. Thus I am destroyed by my own greed, and I am always lustful. A vile, wicked man such as this, rejected by godly people, is a constant offender. I am such a person, devoid of all good works, forever inclined towards evil, worn out and wasted by various miseries. Now in old age, deprived of all means of success, humbled and poor, Bhaktivinoda submits his tale of grief at the feet of the Supreme. this is the Danya Bhav. So many songs of Bhaktivinoda Thakur are like this. He's a pure devotee, but he's saying like this for us, right?
Yes.
And more we chant, more we understand our own anarthas. And if we are not chanting nicely, we don't know what mistakes we are doing. So, as we get connected to Krishna and the super soul, we hear the voice of we are doing this wrong, right? So, more we more we chant nicely, more we will understand the mistakes that we are making, and we can pray to Krishna. These are our anarthas. Please remove them from my heart.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, so I'd like to welcome Vishakha Devidasi. Where are you from?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Oh, this is from Cincinnati, right?
Yes.
Okay. Because your ID looks a little different now than it was before.
Yeah, because I think something changed in the Skype. I had to assign, like I had to redo the account. I came back from India after 2 months, so Prabhuji, I didn't join Skype for a long time. And yeah.
Okay, so I can
Thank you.
remove the previous ID that you have on the right.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji.
There are two. So
Hare Krishna.
okay, so we'll read Srimad Bhagavatam. So we are on Canto 3, Chapter 9, Verse 10. Brahma's prayers for creative energy. So Brahma prayed to be empowered so that he could create, or he could know who he is, why he is on the lotus, and then he got the empowerment by Krishna. We say Bhagavatam discusses 10 subject matters. Atra sarga visagrasya sthanam poshanam uttaya manvantara ishanukatha nirodha mukti ashraya. So these are the so sarga is the creation and visarga is the secondary creation. So secondary creation is done by Brahma. And so this is describing that also. So who is speaking these verses? Let me go back. I think it's Brahma is speaking these verses, but just to make sure. Because Vidura and Maitreya, yeah, it's all Brahma speaking these verses. And the conversation is going between Vidura and Maitreya, where Vidura has asked many questions about creation and different things. So Maitreya Muni answers, and in that now Brahma is saying. So this is also Brahma's prayers, like you have Brahma's prayers in the 10th canto, 14th chapter, after Brahma Vimohan Lila. And these are Brahma's prayers for creative energy. So Bhagavatam is full of prayers. But what he's saying is like, yeah, it's prayers, it's titled as prayers, but now he's saying about the conditioned souls. So let's read 3.9.10. Such non-devotees engage their senses in very troublesome and extensive work, and they suffer insomnia, means they can't sleep at night because their intelligence constantly breaks their sleep with various mental speculations. They are frustrated in all their various plans by supernatural power. Even great sages, if they are against your transcendental topics, must rotate in this material world. Okay, reminds me of that song by Govinda Das. Shita bata barishana edina jamini jagire bifale shevinu kripana durjana chapala shukhalaba lagire. I remain sleepless in day and night, suffering the pangs of heat and cold, the wind and the rain. So mind is disturbed, and that's why there is insomnia. There is a lot of anxiety, stress, and that is the reason uh, we cannot sleep at night, and or we are awake because we have so many desires for sense gratification. Because their intelligence constantly breaks their sleep with various mental speculations. They are frustrated in all their various plans by supernatural power. So the purpose of material world is to frustrate all of us, and especially uh, when one is not a devotee, then one is frustrated so that he becomes a devotee. Moga Asha Moga Karmano. Those who don't accept Krishna, Krishna says in 9 point, is it 9.10, 9.11, Avajananti Mam Muda Manushim Tanum Ashritam Param Bhavam Ajananto Amabhuta Maheshwaram. Fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my supreme dominion over all that be. So don't accept Krishna, then we are baffled in our attempts. Moga Asha in our hopes, Moga Karmano in our activities, Moga Jnana. Because we have to rotate in this cycle of birth and death. So one may be a great sage. How can one be a sage and be against Krishna? Well, impersonalists are kind of like, you can say, they are averse to the personal form. Not impersonalists, Mayavadis, you could say. They're averse to Krishna. So they may be very sense controlled and so many things, but they are not accepting the lotus feet of Krishna. So they must rotate in this world, because without bhakti, you can't go back to the spiritual world. So bhakti means you accept the Supreme Lord as the object of your love. So if you don't do that, then you rotate in this material world. Without bhakti, there is no success. There are many verses like that, right? Bhagavad bhakti hinasya jati shastram japa tapa apranasya dehasya mandanam lokaranjanam. And which other verse? Shrama eva hi kevalam.
Dharmasvanasitapams Vishwaksena Kathasu Nirpadyate.
Shrama eva hi kevalam. Dharmasvanusita pumsam. You may do your dharma very nicely according to your varnashram. You may do dharma svanusita pumsam visvakshena kathasuya. But visvakshena, the Supreme Lord Katha, if all this your duties does not produce no utpaded yati ratim, no utpaded yadi ratim means attraction, then you are working hard for nothing. You are doing all these duties, but you have no attraction for hearing about Krishna. The occupational duties a man performs according to his own position are only so much useless labor if they do not provoke attraction for the message of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I remember this translation from many years back when I was in Bangalore, and this verse was spoken in the morning class by one of the devotees there. So it was a very nice class, and this I memorized the translation. So, as described in previous verses, people who have no taste for the devotional service of the Lord are occupied in material engagements. Yeah, those who are blind to the absolute truth, they have many topics in the Shrota Vyadini Rajendra, Nrinam Santi Sahasrashah, Apashyatam Atmatattvam, Griheshu Grihamedinam. Bhagavatam says that those who are blind to the absolute truth, they have so many topics to talk about and so many things to do which are not related to bhakti. Shrota Vyadini Rajendra. Nrinam Santi Sahasrashah. Sahasrashah means thousands of topics to hear about and talk about. Like we say, if we don't engage in Krishna's service, then we have to engage in the service of Maya. We have to engage in service somewhere. So people who have no taste for devotional service of the Lord are occupied in material engagements. So we have to be occupied somewhere. If we don't serve Krishna, then we have to serve our lust, anger, greed, and all these things. Our attitude of our service doesn't go. So we are always servant. Either we become servant of Krishna or we become servant of Maya. Most of them engage during the daytime in hard physical labor. Their senses are engaged very extensively in troublesome duties in the gigantic plants of heavy industrial enterprise. So, lot of industrial workers working. Of course, now with machines we work, but otherwise also, you have to work very hard, even if there are no machines. And of course, in IT field we don't work, but we are with the computers we are working, with machines we are working. The owners of such factories, and now with machines, Prabhupada says now machine can do the job of 5 people. So 5 people are unemployed because now you have like you go to Kroger or somewhere, you have self checkout. Earlier there was no self checkout, but now with technology you have self checkout. Maybe in 60s or 70s there was a person at each checkout counter, but now you have self checkout. So now they don't need so many people. So some people are unemployed, and if you're unemployed, then what you don't have, then you seek government help, and government then increases taxes. Or if there is unemployment, then it results in crime, because more crime happens where there is more unemployment, because people have to get their basic necessities, and how will they get if there is no employment? So that way also it creates, of course, machines can work more efficiently and effectively, but these are the other side effects of. So the owners of such factories are engaged in finding a market for their industrial products, and the laborers are engaged in extensive production involving huge mechanical arrangements. Like the car, to manufacture a car, there are so many components of the car. You have to assemble all those components together. Some are coming from China, some are coming from Japan, some are coming from some other place, like that. So you have to assemble all these components together, and it's a huge mechanical arrangement is required to build this car. Factory is another name for hell. At night, hellishly engaged persons take advantage of wine and women to satisfy their tired senses, but they are not even able to have sound sleep because their various mental speculative plans constantly interrupt their sleep. Because they suffer from insomnia, sometimes they feel sleepy in the morning for lack of sufficient rest. By the arrangement of supernatural power, even the great, so they can't get up in the Brahma Muhurat because they feel sleepy in the morning, because they can't sleep at night. Of course, there may be genuine insomnia problems, but and other things also, because we sleep late, so we can't get up in the Brahma Muhurat. Prabhupada says we should try to get up in the Brahma Muhurat. He says everybody in the Nectar of Instruction, he says everybody should rise by 4 a.m. Or if we can't do by 4 a.m., as early as possible. So, and if you're not rested, then you feel sleepy in the morning. By the arrangement of supernatural power, even the great scientists and thinkers of the world suffer frustration of their various plans and thus rot in the material world birth after birth. A great scientist may make discoveries in atomic energy for the quick destruction of the world and may be awarded the best prize in recognition of his service or disservice. But he also has to undergo the reactions of his work by rotating in the cycle of repeated birth and deaths under the superhuman law of material nature. All these people who are against the principle of devotional service are destined to rotate in this material world without fail. So, without bhakti, you cannot get out of this. You may be a great scientist, but still you have to rotate in the cycle of birth and death. According to the higher authorities, the supervision of higher authorities, the karma and everything like that. Karmana deva netrena jantur deha upapate striya pravishta udaram pumsa reta kanashraya. Under divine supervision, the soul is transmigrating. This verse particularly mentions that even sages who are averse to the principles of devotional service to the Lord are also condemned to undergo the terms of material existence. Although the love of God is there in everybody's heart, somehow we become averse to the Lord. It is because of our freedom. So that's why we come here. And that is why there is struggle. That is why there is birth, death, old age, and disease. Not only in this age, but formerly also, there were many sages who tried to invent their own system of religion without reference to devotional service to the Supreme Lord. But there cannot be any religious principle without devotional service to the Lord. Sometimes we may think, is Krishna forcing us to love him by giving us misery? If he wanted, he could have created a place. Because Krishna can do anything. So God could have created a place where we could be happy, where there would be no birth, there would be no death, there would be no old age, there would be no disease, and everything would be happy, but just without him. Right? Krishna can do that if he wants. But he has not done it. And what could be the reason? The reason is that we are as part,
He created us to have loving reciprocation with us.
That's
So he doesn't like it when we are not there with him.
and it's not like he just wants to be served and he's just accepting the service and he's like in slaves. He doesn't want us to be slaves like that. Like in a family, there is a love between parents and children, and then between brothers, sisters, there is love. But it is not like a slavery. There is love, but it's not slavery. Everybody wants to serve each other in the family. So Krishna is also like that. He is not like saying, you just be my servant and servant. And of course, Krishna also wants to serve his devotees. And by constitution, we are part of him. So we cannot be separate from him. We have to depend on him. The part has to depend on the whole. So that is how the part will be satisfied. That is our constitutional position. We may think that we can be independent and we can be happy without Krishna, but the part can never be happy without serving the whole. It's how can the leaf be nourished if it is not connected to the tree? The leaf cannot be nourished if it's not on the tree. So that is our situation. So that's how it is. But Krishna has given so many nice places in this material world. If, like in that subterranean heavenly planets, right? There is so much opulence. We read about that. There is so much opulence. They are all godless, but there is so much opulence. So Krishna is fulfilling the desires. There is a lot of material enjoyment. It is even more opulent than the heavenly planets. Heavenly planets, they are God conscious, but in subterranean heavenly planets, there is even more opulence. But they are also against God, and Krishna is allowing that. Of course, they have to die there also. But so, yes, Krishna is fulfilling in the heavenly planets. They have long lives, a lot of enjoyment. So, but after the end of this all, it, it will not satisfy the soul, because without pure bhakti, the soul can never be satisfied. That's why even in heavenly planets there is dissatisfaction. But there cannot be any religious principle without devotional service to the Lord. So religious principles without bhakti to the Lord are not real religious principles. Religious principles are those that bring us closer to the Lord in devotion. The Supreme Lord is the leader of the entire range of living entities, and no one can be equal to or greater than Him. So we are all so many, infinite number of living entities. We can't count how many living entities. And there is one leader of all the living entities, and that is Krishna. Ekala Ishwar Krishna Arsabhritya, or Nityo Nityanam Chetnas Chetnanam, Eko Bahunam Yovitadati Kaman. Even the Lord's impersonal feature and the all-pervading localized feature cannot be on an equal level with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, Paramatma and Brahman are subordinate to Krishna. Brahmano hi pratishta aham. Krishna says in the 14th chapter, I am the source of the impersonal Brahman. And Paramatma is the expansion, the Shirodakshai Vishnu, who has expanded. And we know Shirodakshai is the expansion of the expansion. The expansion. So they are also not on equal level with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Of course, that's Vishnu Tattva, but different. Therefore, there cannot be any religion or system of genuine philosophy for the advancement of the living entities without the principle of devotional service. So without recognizing God, how can there be any dharma? Yeah.
Prabhuji, I had a question. That you said that, but there cannot be any religious principle without devotional service to the Lord. So, can you explain more about religious principles?
Prabhupada said here, there cannot be any religious principle without devotional service to the Lord. Means there are the principles, all the bhakti, like it should culminate in bhakti. So there are many people have made up religious things like this is how it should be. There are rituals, but there is no devotional service to the Lord. So like there is a varnashram dharma and there is Devi varnashram. So you can have principles and they are like pious, but real religious principles are that which awaken bhakti to the Lord. So that's what I can say. Karma kanda is there, but it is ultimately meant to, it is the lowest rung of the yoga ladder, right? Karma kanda. But then it should progress to bhakti. So if you just get stuck in karma kanda, then it's not really helpful. So that's what I could say. Like, okay.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Anybody else has any? So the impersonalists who have taken, it's good to accept some authority, but yeah. Go
What is that term that says that dharma or religion comes from Krishna Bhagavad
Dharmantu
Pranitam?
sakshat bhagavad pranitam.
Dharmantu sakshat Bhagavad Pranitam. Right. Dharma is established by Krishna only.
Yeah. All the Vedas also come from Krishna. And there are in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, don't be attracted to the flowery language of the Vedas. So there is a portion of the Vedas which deals with Karma Kanda. I mean, it is for, there is a lot of material desires we have. So, okay, you do Karma Kanda. Then after doing Karma Kanda for a long time, then it is also said in Karma Kanda sacrifices, the first offering is done to Vishnu. And then after doing Karma Kanda, and because the Brahmanas there who are doing the Karma Kanda activities, they may give you some transcendental knowledge. Then you realize, and you also experience some frustration after sense gratification. So you then ultimately, you come to the Jnana Kanda of the Vedas. Because you realize that this sense gratification is not satisfying me. There must be something higher than this. And then you know more about the Lord. Then you come to Upasana Kanda of the Vedas. Upasana is worship. Upasana means to worship. So you come to accept devotional service. But you don't have to go through all the steps. You can directly accept devotional service to the Lord. So like that. So there are sub-religious principles which can bring you to ultimately religious principles, real religious principles. Dharmantu sakshat bhagavad pranitam. Yeah. So the real religious principles are hidden in the
In the hearts of the pure devotees.
heart of the pure devotees. Dharmasya hi tattvam
Nihitam guhayam hajinoyana gadhasapantha.
nihitam guhayam. Guhayam means very secret, confidential. It is hidden in the hearts of the great souls. So one should follow them. They will give Mahajanayena Gata Sapantha. Okay, the impersonalists who take much trouble in penance and austerity for self-liberation may approach the impersonal Brahma Jyoti. But ultimately, because of not being situated in devotional service, they glide down again to the material world to undergo another term of material existence. This is confirmed as follows. Yanyarvindaksha vimuptamaninas tvayashtabhavad bhavad avishuddha buddhaya aruhya krichrena param padam tataha patanti advanadrita yusmadangrahaya. Persons who are falsely under the impression of being liberated without devotional service to the Lord may reach the goal of Brahma Jyoti, but because of their impure consciousness and for want of shelter in Vaikuntha lokas, such so-called liberated persons again fall down into material existence. Because the jiva is still not in its constitutional position, so it cannot stay anywhere where it's not in permanently, where it's not in Jivera Swarupai Krishna Nitya Das. That is we have a loving relationship with the Lord in service. So that is not achieved by the impersonalists who go to the Brahma Jyoti. And that's why a plane may fly in the sky for a long time, but ultimately that is not its resting place. It cannot stay there forever, a plane in the sky. It has to come down on the ground. A crude analogy. So it can fly for 50 hours, 60 hours, whatever. They can fuel even in the air, but ultimately it has to come down. So that is so. Similarly, the jiva may go to the Brahma Jyoti. Brahma Jyoti is eternal, like the sky, and the jiva is also eternal. But the position of jiva in the Brahma Jyoti is not eternal. So that's what this verse is saying. And the soul, the impersonalist may think that, oh, I'm liberated, but vimukta maninas, they are thinking they are liberated, but they have neglected Krishna, so they come down from there. Why? Because there is no ananda. In the Brahman aspect, you have only the Sat aspect. And we want Ananda. We don't want just to exist. That is the Pranamoy consciousness. But higher than that is Vijnanamoy, and then ultimately, what is that? Pranamoy, Jnanamoy, Vijnanamoy, and Anandamoy. We want to be in bliss. Anandamayo Bhyasat. So that you don't find in the Brahma Jyoti. Is there Brahmananda, it's described Brahmananda, but that Brahmananda is just absence of misery. Your peace. There is peace but no joy. There is joy coming from some peace. But we just don't want to be peaceful. We want to interact with others and in a loving relationship. Okay, therefore no one can manufacture any system of religion without the principle of devotional service to the Lord. As we find in the 6th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the initiator of the religious principles is the Lord himself. In the Bhagavad Gita also we find that the Lord condemns all forms of religion other than that which entails the process of surrendering to the Supreme. So that's why Krishna says, give up all these other religions you have manufactured. Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja. That's what Prabhupada is saying. Any system which leads to one to the devotional service of the Lord and nothing else is actually religion or philosophy. In the 6th canto, we find the following statements of Yamaraj, the controller of all unfaithful living entities. Dharman tu sakshat bhagavad pranitam navai vidur rishayo napi devaha nasiddha mukhya asura manushyaha kutascha vidyadhara charanadaya स्वयंभू नारद शंभु कुमार कपिलो मनु प्रह्लादो जनको भीष्मो बलिर्वैयासखीर्वयम् द्वादशैते विजानिमो. Dvadasha means 12. 2 plus 10. Dharman bhagavatam bhataha guhyam vishutam durbodham yam kyatva amritamashnute. I think Shri has memorized this part, right? If she's there, she's not there on the call. We are missing Shri. Shri used to recite verses before. Today she's not there. Okay. The principles of religion are initiated solely by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is Dharman tu Sakshat Bhagavat Pranitam. That is the meaning. And therefore no one else, including the sages and demigods, can manufacture any religious principle. Since even the great sages and such demigods as Brahma and Shiva are not authorized to inaugurate any principles of religion, what to speak of others, the so-called mystics, demons, human beings, Vidyadharas and Charanas living on lower planets. It's like, law is given by government. You cannot write your own law at your home. I think it is like this. Law has to be given by the government. Of course, these laws are flawed. Government laws, man-made laws are not perfect. But so similarly, the universal laws are given by Krishna, God, and not by anybody else. We cannot manufacture our own laws. 12 personalities, Brahma, Narada, Lord Shiva, Kumara, Kapila, Manu, Prahlad, Maharaj, Janak, Maharaj, Bhishma, Bali, Sukdev, Goswami, and Yamaraj are agents of the Lord, authorized to speak and propagate the principles of religion. Yamaraj knows the laws. Yamadutas didn't know the law, that they could not punish Ajamil. But Yamaraj knew. So he educated the Yamadutas in whom they should approach. So the laws are given by these 12 Mahajans who got their knowledge from Krishna, because lawyers are educated in law. Of course, the modern day lawyers, they twist the law and all this. So many things. But yeah, so these are the lawyers, you could say. They know the law and the principles of religion. These 12 authorities. And those who have learned, like we are in Brahma's disciplic succession. Brahma, Narada, 2 of ours are there. Brahma and Narada Muni are there. The principles of religion are not open to any ordinary living entity. A human being must be first brought onto the platform of morality. non-violence, etc. are necessary for misguided persons, because unless one is moral and non-violent, one cannot understand the principles of religion. So that is good, non-violence, because that will make one come to the mode of goodness, and then he can understand. It is very difficult to understand what actual religion is if one is situated in the principles, even if one is situated in the principles of morality and non-violence. Sometimes people are good people, they are non-violent, they are moral, but they can't understand, Prabhupada says. Actual religion is very confidential, because as soon as one is conversant with real principles of religion, one is liberated and enters onto the path to the eternal life of bliss and knowledge. That's why Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says this is the most confidential knowledge. Why it is confidential? Because it has to be understood in the proper way from the devotee. Otherwise, you will not understand Bhagavad Gita. So, it says Raja Vidya Raja Guhyam. It is the king of all the confidential knowledge. This is the king of knowledge, the most confidential. So, it is confidential because unless we hear from devotees, we will not understand Bhagavad Gita. Therefore, one who is not situated in the principles of devotional service to the Lord should not pose himself as a religious leader of the innocent public. So, without knowing, if I talk, then like I have to speak on like chemistry, and I have not learned chemistry, or I have to speak on mechanical engineering. I don't know mechanical engineering, but I am still speaking. Then that's what that's cheating. So, like that, Prabhupada says that without knowing the principles of devotional service, one should not. So, first you have to learn from the proper source, and then you speak. The Ishopanishad emphatically forbids this nonsense in the following mantra. Andham tama pravishanti ye sambhutim upasate tato bhuya ivate tamo yau sambhutyam rataha. A person in ignorance of the principles of religion, who therefore does nothing in matter of religion, is far better than a person who misguides others in the name of religion, without reference to the factual religious principles of devotional service. So, it's not going there. Such so-called leaders of religion are sure to be condemned by Brahma and other. So if you don't know, don't speak. Then speak and misguide others. Speak the wrong thing and misguide others. So, like they sometimes say that, no, anyway. So, sometimes the person who a snake with a jewel on the head is more dangerous. Because, so like that, because it has a jewel, it is attractive, but it is a snake. So, there are many learned people who don't know actually the conclusion of the Shastra, but they are speaking, and people are impressed by this jugglery of words and so many things, but they don't talk about what Krishna is saying. So that is why there is so much confusion in the society today. Okay, so anything anyone like to say? That is why we are warned that we should not hear. Right? From what is that verse? We should not hear.
Vaishnav Adgyanam Puttam Harikatham Shravanam Neva Kartavyam Sarpochishta Yathapaya. It's like milk touched by the lips of a serpent becomes poisonous. Those who are non-devotees, hearing from them, they'll poison us.
So milk is good Milk is good, but if the snake puts its poison in the milk, then the milk becomes useless. So, like that. Sometimes we may say, well, where they are chanting Hare Krishna, how can it be contaminated? They are speaking from Bhagavatam. How can it be contaminated? Yeah, they are speaking from Bhagavatam, but they are giving their own contribution also. They are putting their own speculative philosophy inside in the Bhagavatam or in the Bhagavad Gita. So they are giving their own interpretation about what it is, and that's what makes it useless. So we say Bhagavad Gita as it is. Of course, sometimes people think we are too arrogant and we are saying this is as it is. But this Bhagavad Gita has transformed so many into devotees of Krishna. And Krishna is saying in the Bhagavad Gita, become my devotee. So the purpose of Bhagavad Gita is to become devotee of Krishna. Man mana bhava mad bhakto. And if this Bhagavad Gita is making devotees of Krishna, then it is correct. So like that. Other Bhagavad Gitas, Prabhupada said before he wrote his Bhagavad Gita, there were many other Bhagavad Gitas. Not there may be some bona fide Bhagavad Gitas which are in devotional service, but many Bhagavad Gitas have their own interpretation about. Then that's why nobody became a devotee of Krishna. So like that. In the Western world also there were so many editions, so many people have written Bhagavad Gitas. So we'll just take it directly, what Krishna says. Don't interpret Krishna's words. Just take it directly. Sometimes we become intelligent and we want to pose ourselves as intelligent. So we say, no, this may be like this may be like that. And people who don't want to accept the direct meaning, they say, okay, yeah, this seems like, yeah, this may be the interpretation, because they are also like speculating. So they think, oh, this may be like this may be like. No, just accept what the words are saying. So, like that. Okay. So let's see what else Brahma says. Any other comments? Tvam bhakti yoga paribhavita ritsroja ase shutekshita patho nanu natha pumsam yad yadhyata urugaya vibhavayanti tat tad vapu pranayase sad anugrahaya. O my Lord, your devotees can see you through years by the process of bona fide hearing. And thus their hearts become cleansed, and you take your seat there. You are so merciful to your devotees that you manifest yourself in particular eternal form in which they always think of you. So by hearing, Krishna enters into our heart. Of course, he is there in our heart. But he becomes manifest in the heart. So by hearing about Krishna. And whichever form the devotee wants to worship, Krishna's form, that's how he appears in the heart. So some are devotees of Narsingadev, some are devotees of Ramchandra, like that. So whatever form, some are Krishna devotees. So that reminds me of that verse that in the Adi Lila it says, Sadaridaya Kandare Suratu Va Sachinandana. That may this Sachinandan, Gaurahari, may be situated in the innermost chambers of your heart. So Sachinandan is Radha Krishna only. So Radha Krishna or Sachinandan, non-different. They be in our heart in the Adi Lila, right? What is that verse? Anar Pita Charim Chirat Karuna. Is that the?
Yes.
You want to say the verse? Anar Pita Charim.
पिताचर्यं चराट करुणा आवर्तिन कलौ समर्पयेत मुन्नतज्ज्वला. Swabhaktisha Hari
Purata
Purat
Sundara
Sundaraduti Kadamba
Sandipita
Sandipita Sadahridaya
Sada.
Kandare Swaratul Vahasachinandana.
What was not given for a long time, Anarpita, Charim Chirat, this Karuna Avatar, this Karuna Avatar is Lord Chaitanya. He has come to give what was not given for a long time. What is that? Anarpita Charim Chirat Karuna Avatar. Unnato Jvalarasam Samarpayitum. He is giving the Samarpayan means he's offering. Samarpayami, we say Samarpayami means offering. Samarpan is to offer. He's offering this Samarpayat Unnata Ujjvala Rasam, the highest, the topmost rasa of Vraj, the gopi, his love for Krishna. Unnata Ujjvala Rasam Swabhakti Shriyam, his own bhakti to his Hari Purata Sundara Diti Kadamba Sandipita is molten golden in color, very beautiful. And Kandara, Sadaridaya Kandare, in the caves of your heart. Kandara, like Kandara Kandamulam. We have that in the Hantaya Madrira Bala Haridasa Variyo Yadarama Krishna Charana Sparasha Pramodaha Manam Tanoti Sahago Ganayostayoryat Sadaridaya Kandane Pani Yasuya Vasa Kandara. So Kandara means the cave. So Govardhan has many caves. So here that same word. Sadaridaya Kandare. In the caves, in the innermost chambers of your heart. May that son of Sachi, who is resplendent with this color of molten gold, may be situated in the innermost chambers of your heart. So this is a blessing verse. This Dravida Prabhu is saying that. So anyway, so we can think of Gaurnitai, Radha Krishna, Krishna Balram. The statement here that the Lord manifests himself before the devotee in the form in which devotee likes to worship him indicates that the Lord becomes subordinate to the desire of the devotee. In Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada says one should not focus on one's mind on any. In 18th chapter he says, 1865 purport he says, one should concentrate on the form of Krishna that was present before Arjuna, the Shyam Sundar form. So, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is also Radha Krishna. So, in which the devotee likes to worship him indicates that the Lord becomes subordinate to the desire of the devotee. So much so that the Lord manifests his particular form as the devotee demands. This demand of the devotee is satisfied by the Lord because he is pliable in terms of transcendental loving service of the devotee. So, Krishna is ready to fulfill any desire devotee has. Because he is so loving, just as a father wants to please his child, right, by giving whatever toys the child wants. So Krishna is especially spiritual desires, whichever way they want to relate to the Lord, Krishna is ready to fulfill that. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 4:11. Ye atha mam prapadyante tans tathaiva bhajami ham. As you surrender, as you see me, I reciprocate. We should note, however, that the Lord is never the order supplier of the devotee. Here in this verse it is particularly mentioned. Tvam bhakti yoga paribhavita. Lord is never the order supplier of the devotee, but sometimes he becomes the order supplier. Like for great devotee, Nanda Maharaj says, bring my chappal. And Krishna brings the chappal. Although I think what Prabhupada is saying in this way is that although he is in the supreme position, but he, out of his sweet will, he takes a subordinate position. Nanda Maharaj says, bring. Is bringing. So, what other gopis are saying, you dance, so he is dancing. So, like that.
Satyabhama says, get me a parijata flower or tree, and goes and fights with Indra.
Right.
And Rukmini writes a letter come quickly when he leaves the battlefield.
Yes. Draupadi calls him, he comes from
Mm.
Hastinapur.
Vidurani gives him the banana peel and he eats.
So yeah, so his kindness. Here in this verse, it is particularly mentioned. Tvam bhakti yoga paribhavita. This indicates the efficiency achieved through the execution of mature devotional service or prema, love of Godhead. This state of prema is achieved by a gradual process of development from faith to love. On faith, one associates with the bona fide devotees, and by such association, one can become engaged in bona fide devotional service, which includes proper initiation and the execution of the primary devotional duties prescribed in the revealed scriptures. This is clearly indicated by the words Shrutekshita. The Shrutekshita path is to hear from bona fide devotees who are conversant with Vedic wisdom, free from mundane sentiment. By this bona fide hearing process, the neophyte devotee becomes cleansed of all material rubbish, and thus he becomes attached to one of the many transcendental forms of the Lord described in the Vedas. By hearing from pure devotees, we will become attached to Krishna. This attachment of the devotee to a particular form of the Lord is due to natural inclination. Each and every living entity is originally attached to a particular type of transcendental service because he is eternally the servitor of the Lord. Lord Chaitanya says that the living entity is eternally a servitor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. That is like, Jivera Swarupai. Krishna Nityadas, Jivera Tatashta Shakti, Bheda Bheda Prakash. This particular attachment is invoked by the practice of regulative devotional service to the Lord, and thus the devotee becomes attached to the eternal form of the Lord, exactly like one who is already eternally attached. This attachment for a particular form of the Lord is called Swarup Siddhi. The Lord sits on the lotus heart of the devotee in the eternal form of the pure devotee desires. And the Lord does not part from the devotee as confirmed in the previous verse. Now it doesn't mean that if you love the Lord, you don't love anybody else. Actually, when you love the Lord, you love everybody because everybody is part and parcel of the Lord. And not only human beings, even the trees, the animals, and all other species of life, because you see in them a part of God in them. Otherwise, there would be no loving relationship between devotees also. But it is with Krishna in the center on the spiritual platform. The Lord, however, does not disclose himself to a casual or unauthentic worshipper to be exploited. Just as we don't reveal our mind to anybody, only those who are very confidential, those who are trustworthy. When Krishna wanted to send a message to the gopis, he chose his most confidential or devotee, Uddhav, because it was a confidential message and only those who are trustworthy can be entrusted with the confidential message. So Krishna does not reveal himself. Naham prakasha sarvasya, that Prabhupada is quoting. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Naham prakasha sarvasya yoga maya samavritaha. Rather, by yoga maya, the Lord remains concealed from the non-devotees or casual devotees who are serving their sense gratification. The Lord is never visible to the pseudo-devotees who worship the demigods in charge of universal affairs. The conclusion is that the Lord does not become the order supplier of a pseudo-devotee, but is always prepared to respond to the desires of a pure, unconditional devotee free from all tinges of material infection. So, Krishna, genuineness attracts Krishna. Genuineness and purity of desire attracts Krishna. So, of course, Krishna says everybody is magnanimous in the Bhagavad Gita. Anybody who comes to him is magnanimous.
I mean, The super soul is, they say, Supadrishta and Anumanta, right? It is fulfilling the desires of the jivas. So, it says the Lord cannot become the order supplier, but He's fulfilling the desires of even the non devotees.
Correct. Yeah, that's true. That's why, yeah, uh, yeah, he's fulfilling everybody's desires. That's correct. So, how we desire is the most, but then how we understand. Conclusion is the Lord does not become the pseudo devotee. Uh, it's one who is posing to be a devotee, but not really devotee. Of course, to be a devotee is a big thing, actually. Prabhupada said one time, like, we are trying to.
Pure unconditional devotee don't have any desires,
Correct.
material desires.
Only spiritual desires. They want to serve Krishna in different ways. So, yeah, correct.
So, so Prabhuji, as you said that here, the Lord does not become the order supplier of a pseudo devotee, but he, as Mataji said, that he fulfilled the desires of a non-devotee also, right?
Correct.
So, how is it possible that if a non-devotee doesn't deserve, or maybe the person doesn't have any prarabdha karma also, so and just because he desire, so is it possible that God Lord has fulfilled the desire?
But according to
Because yeah,
karma,
we heard that, like, because whatever, if somebody is non-devotee, so in that case, there's a karma cycle is more prominent. So what you deserve, what you had done in your previous lifetime or maybe current lifetime, then you will get the results.
correct.
So it's not possible that you can get that only by desires. Lord has fulfilled that. I mean, I don't understand. So more clarify
I
on
mean,
that.
according to desire, Krishna gives intelligence. So you may not have the karma, but then he will give you intelligence to perform that kind of karma so that you can get uh, what your desires fulfilled. Like that. Yeah, absolutely.
Jiva can only desire.
Mm.
Like we were discussing subterranean heavenly planets, right? Those are sinful people and they wanted to enjoy. So Krishna sent them to the subterranean heavenly planets where they can enjoy
Mm.
so much.
Correct.
So Jiva can only desire. Krishna is the one who's giving them the ability and the
Mm.
strength to do any kind of karma.
Yeah.
Okay. So as you said that those who wanted to enjoy, they go to the subterranean, that is it, the planets.
There are demoniac like in the subterranean heaven. They are like not averse to God. In heavenly planets, they also
Mhm.
enjoy, but in subterranean, they enjoy without God consciousness. Both have material desires, but in
Mhm.
heavenly planets, material desires are there, but they are God conscious also. But in the subterranean heavenly planets, I think they are not God conscious. They are demoniac.
Right.
Yeah.
As you said that, when we start this conversation, you said that they have more enjoyment, even, and but they are not God conscious.
Yeah.
If somebody has more enjoyment, and that the jivas, they really wanted to enjoy more separately without God consciousness, so how, if there will be no distress, there will be no sufferings, then how one person can understand that this is this is not a good place, we have to get out of this place. Like in earthly planet, we have that there's a mixed bag of happiness and distress.
Mm.
So by realizing and by seeing all the suffering, and going through with this suffering, we can come to the conclusion that we have to get out of this planet. But if there is some planet like that, there is a demonic mindset, people are there, and they are and top of them, they are enjoying more and more, and at the last all the jivas has come to that conclusion that we are part and parcel of Lord, and we have to serve the whole. So how is it possible that they how they come to the conclusion of devotion, or because they desire to enjoy, and they did, I mean, they are
Yeah,
doing
but
it,
sense
so there will be no
gratification. Yeah,
problem.
the thing is that because by nature, Jiva, yeah, yeah, you can go ahead.
No, I am just saying it's a temporary place.
Hmm.
Like it's not like a permanently they're enjoying there. When their time is up, it's up and they fall down to more of the hellish conditions or animal life or
Hmm.
and yeah, they have to go through suffering. Anybody who's trying to enjoy separately from Krishna undergoes suffering eventually.
Hmm. Like previous verse, previous purport we read, Prabhupada says that, yeah, nobody can, without devotion, we have to rotate in the cycle of birth and death. So, all these people who are against the principle of devotional service are destined to rotate in the material world without fail. So, that's what. And after sense gratification comes frustration. Because you enjoy, it doesn't satisfy. That's why they have dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. So you have dharma, you do some dharma, karma kanda like that to get money or economic development, and then you enjoy, and then enjoyment doesn't satisfy the soul. The material enjoyment doesn't satisfy the soul, and that's why they become maybe frustrated. I don't know how. At some point, everybody becomes frustrated with material enjoyment, and then they decide, okay, no, I should, or that is the way it is set up, right, to make us frustrated. So, material enjoyment will never satisfy the soul. You may think you are enjoying like lots, and this is very nice situation, but you will become frustrated at the end of it because you have to die. Even in subterranean heavenly planets, you have to die. I don't know if there is old age there, but there is also like, yeah, death. Uh, Another place, Krishna says they are all places of misery, where repeated birth and death. Abrahma bhuvana loka punaravartini Arjuna. Right from the lowest planet to the highest, all are places of misery. But to come to that conclusion may take millions of lifetimes. That I cannot be happy by sense gratification. And that's the jiva. I don't know how it realizes that, because we are all conditioned that we get happiness by sense gratifications. Hmm.
Yeah, I agree what you said, that it's a this is a real reason actually. I was asking these questions because we know that sometimes we, even the jivas in here in this planet also, we know that the real miseries are birth, death, old age, disease. But birth,
Hmm.
uh, birth and death people accept it, like,
Hmm.
okay, but we will take birth and death, because the reason is that what I understood, my understanding is saying that because we don't know the pain, what extent of pain we went through during birth, and we will go into death also, we forget it. And what we know, that is like disease and old age. So, or maybe our conditions like poverty or relationships, these are the miseries which are common in this material world. So if in other planets, if we only birth and death is there, so that's why, it was a question, that because birth and death, after death, everybody, the past life we forget it, so we don't know that in next life you can start it. If some miseries comes in somebody's life, in people's life, in jiva's life, then we started to think about that. That's what my understanding is, so
Correct.
that's why I
Yeah,
asked
that's
the
true.
question.
Like you're saying, old age and disease is more identifiable. Yeah, go ahead.
Right.
No, so I think somewhere in our, you can say subconscious, or there are impressions from previous lives. That's how the mind develops
Hmm.
in its consciousness, right? Otherwise, we'd always be in the lowest level of consciousness. Some people are naturally more spiritually inclined and detached from material affairs because over the lifetimes their mind has developed that way. So every experience that we go through leaves an impression on the mind, and over the many lifetimes of suffering, the person, the jiva's consciousness evolves, and he becomes more and more spiritually inclined and detached from material enjoyment.
Yeah, so there are phobias, there are fears and all these things. We were talking also about this. Why some people have some, like, fear of relationships, and because they went through some trauma in their past life, or fear of water and all this. So that's why they don't want to indulge in it in this life. So that's also there. And ultimately, yeah, that's why there is misery is described either as Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadi and Adhyatmik, Adi Bhautik and Adi Devik. Okay, if you can't see, because if you're not old and you don't have disease and you don't remember your birth and death, okay, then some other misery is there due to body and mind. So, or some other living entities are giving you misery, or there is some natural disturbance. So that way also miseries are described. So, either way. you know but we know, like, we see around people who are dying in the hospital. Then we can see how it is. The only thing is that we don't think that I will be like this one day. That's the big maya, the illusion covering. You see old people having disease and you never think I'll be in this situation. So, and you may not be, because your karma may be different, but it's how it is. Okay. So
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, Mataji.
I'll finish this purport. By this bona fide hearing process, the neophyte devotee becomes cleansed of all material rubbish, and thus he becomes attached to one of the many transcendental forms of the Lord described in the Vedas. Becomes cleansed of all material rubbish. This attachment, okay, I think we read all this. Where are we? The Lord is never visible to the pseudo devotees who worship the demigod. The conclusion is that the Lord does not become the order supplier of prepared to respond to the desires of a pure, unconditional devotee free. I think we read this, finished. Okay. We can read one more and then stop. My Lord, you are not very much satisfied when you are worshipped by the demigods, who arrange for your worship very pompously with various paraphernalia, but who are full of material hankerings. So, big worship, but not pure heart. So Brahma is saying you are not satisfied with demigods who make such a nice arrangement for your worship, but the heart is full of material desires. As the super soul, you are situated in the heart of all living beings, just to show them your causeless mercy. And you are their eternal well-wisher, but you are unavailable for the non-devotee. And we have the example of Duryodhana, who made a very elaborate feast for Krishna, but his heart was full of material desires. So Krishna was not satisfied. He didn't even go there. The demigods in the celestial heavenly planets, who are appointed administrators of the material affairs, are also devotees of the Lord. But at the same time, they have desires for material opulence and sense gratification. The Lord is so kind that He awards them all sorts of material happiness, more than they can desire. So they are karma mishra bhakta, which devotees with mixed devotees. But He is not satisfied with them because they are not pure devotees. The Lord does not want any one of His innumerable sons, the living entities, to remain in the material world of threefold miseries, to perpetually suffer the material pangs of birth, death, old age, and disease. Naturally, as a father doesn't like his child to suffer, he doesn't want that. The demigods in the heavenly planets and many devotees on this planet also want to remain in the material world as devotees of the Lord and take advantage of material happiness. They do so at the risk of falling down to the lower status of existence, and this makes the Lord dissatisfied with them. Okay, so like Indra became the pig, like that. So Prabhupada is saying, yeah, this mixed devotional service will not satisfy the Lord because there is risk of falling down from the mixed path. Pure devotees are not desirous of any material enjoyment. Nor are they averse to it. They completely dovetail their desires with the desires of the Lord and perform nothing on their personal account. In the section on Sudama, it is mentioned that there are devotees like Sudama who are averse to material enjoyment. I think Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says their commentary is quoted. And then there are some who are indifferent. Here Prabhupada is talking about those who are indifferent to material enjoyment. They're not desiring, they're not even averse to it. If they get it, they use it in Krishna's. If they get money, then. But some devotees, they say, oh, I don't want. Like, na dhanam, na janam, na sundari. So, there's a purport there in the Sudama section where it is described that how come Sudama was poor even though he was a devotee? Because he was averse to material enjoyment. Let's find that. 1 minute. So Krishna did not give him opulence. There Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is quoted. Yeah.
It's 10:81:67.
Yeah. 6, 7. Thank you. Yes. But is it Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur? Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti comments that the Lord momentarily wondered, how has it come about, despite my omniscience, that this devotee of mine has fallen into such poverty? Someone may point out that Sudama should not have been so poverty stricken, since appropriate enjoyment comes as a byproduct of service to God, even for a devotee who has no ulterior motives. It's confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. So Krishna will provide ananyas chintayanto mam. Ye jana pariyupasate tesham nityabhyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. Those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. So he should have been given here no food like that. In response to this point, a distinction must be made between two kinds of renounced devotees. One kind is inimical to sense gratification, another is indifferent to it. The Supreme Lord does not force sense gratification upon the devotee who is extremely averse to worldly enjoyments. This is seen among such great renouncers as Jada Bharat. On the other hand, the Lord may give limitless wealth and power to a devotee who is neither repelled nor attracted by material things, such as Prahlad Maharaj. Up to this point in his life, Sudama was totally averse to sense gratification. But now, out of compassion for his faithful wife, and also because he hankered to have Krishna's audience, he went to beg from the Lord. Okay, I think so. I don't know. So here Prabhupada says they are neutral. They are not like both attachment and aversion are stumbling blocks on the path of self-realization. So it's described somewhere in the third.
I mean, there's also the story where Sudama ate some chana given by the guru's wife without offering it to Krishna. So that is wrong, right?
Yeah.
But it's very famous.
So maybe that is there also. That's why he got into poverty. Okay.
That's what I also heard.
Yeah, that Lal Govind Prabhu was also saying that when he was here.
Or
So,
she will curse him to be poor always without food. That's what, when he ate the chana.
Who cursed Mataji? Guru?
What, Masji?
Who cursed Sudama?
I mean, the Rishi Patni.
Oh, Guru's Patni.
he cursed him because he ate chana by himself, not offering to Krishna.
Yes, without offering. That's what I heard.
Oh, okay. Shastras, if devotees are saying. Pure devotees who are not desire of any material enjoyment, they completely dovetail their desires with the desires of the Lord and they perform nothing on their personal account. Arjuna is a good example. So their desires are what Krishna's desires are. On his own sentiment, due to family affection, Arjuna did not want to fight, but finally, after hearing Srimad Bhagavad Gita, he agreed to fight in the interests of the Lord. Therefore, the Lord is very much satisfied with the pure devotees because they do not act for sense gratification, but only in terms of the Lord's desire. As Paramatma or Super Soul, he is situated in everyone's heart, always giving everyone the chance of good counsel. Thus, everyone should take the opportunity and render transcendental loving service to him wholly and solely. Okay, big purport. The non-devotees, however, are like neither the demigods nor the pure devotees, but are averse to any transcendental relationship with the Lord. So they are not, non-devotees are just, they don't accept the Lord's supremacy. The demigods accept Lord's supremacy, but with material desires. They have revolted against the Lord and must perpetually undergo the reactions of their own activities. So you can't become free from karma. The Bhagavad Gita 4:11 states, "Yatha mam prapatyante tans tathaiva bhajamiham." Although the Lord is equally kind to every living being, the living beings for their own part are able to please the Lord to either a greater or lesser extent. The demigods are called sakama devotees. So pure devotees are able to please the Lord to a greater extent because their purity in devotion. The demigods are called sakama devotees or devotees with material desires in mind, while the pure devotees are called nishkam devotees because they have no desires for their personal interests. The sakama devotees are self-interested because they do not think of others and therefore they are not able to satisfy the Lord perfectly. Whereas the pure devotees take the missionary responsibility of turning non-devotees into devotees. And they are therefore able to satisfy the Lord more than the demigods. So it's kind of saying that demigods are more interested with their own enjoyment. And that's why they are not interested in delivering others. Whereas the pure devotees, they take the mission of delivering others. And that's why they are more dear to the Lord. That's the Bhagavad Gita verse. Nacha tasman manusheshu kashya me priya pritama bhavitatnam chamita asmat anya priyataro bhuvi. Ya idam paramam goyam mad bhakteshva vidashyati bhaktim mai param kritva mame vishasi sanshaya. So the Lord is unmindful of the non-devotees, although he is sitting within everyone's heart as the well-wisher and the super soul. So although Krishna is there, he is not bothering too much. However, he also gives them the chance to receive his mercy through his pure devotees who are engaged in missionary activities. Sometimes the Lord himself descends for missionary activities, as he did in the form of Lord Chaitanya. But mostly he sends his bona fide representatives, and thus he shows his causeless mercy towards the non-devotees. The Lord is so satisfied with his pure devotee that he wants to give them the credit for missionary success, although he could do the work personally. This is the sign of his satisfaction with his pure Nishkam devotees compared to the Sakama devotees. By such transcendental activities, the Lord simultaneously becomes free from the charge of partiality and exhibits his pleasure with the devotees. Because they are participating in the Lord's mission, so that's why you can't say that Lord is exhibiting partiality. Now a question arises, if the Lord is sitting in the hearts of non-devotees, why are they not moved to become devotees? It may be answered that the stubborn non-devotees are like a barren land or an alkaline field where no agriculture activities can be successful. Prabhupada is using strong words. So non-devotee's heart is like a barren land where nothing can grow. It's an alkaline field. So no matter what you plant, it never fructifies. So question is that if Krishna is in the heart of non-devotees, why they are not becoming devotees? Why they are not inspired to become devotees by Krishna in the heart? Prabhupada says that as part and parcel of the Lord, every individual living entity has a minute quantity of independence. And by misuse of this minute independence, the non-devotees commit offense after offense to both the Lord and his pure devotees engaged in missionary work. So they commit offenses. As a result of such acts, they become as barren as an alkaline field where there is no strength to produce. Okay, so because of the offenses to the Lord, we are not able to become devotees. Or the non-devotees are not able to become devotees because of the offenses to the Lord and his pure devotees. That's why the Lord is not inspiring them. I think that's what it says. The answer. Okay. Or you can say because they don't have the desire to become devotee, Krishna is not giving them that facility. But they don't have that desire because of offenses also. We say when we do offenses, then we lose our taste in bhakti. Like 10,000 offenses, Jiva Goswami says, if you do, then you lose taste in bhakti. Not only you lose taste in bhakti, you may become averse to bhakti also. So, and those 10,000 offenses may be committed over many lifetimes also. So I don't know if it's one lifetime or many lifetimes. So that can also happen. Like we have
But
that right.
ultimately, everybody becomes a devotee, right? Ultimately. So maybe the devotees, they are more merciful than Krishna, and somehow they give these kind of people some sukriti of some kind by their missionary work.
Correct. Yeah, the devotees they go and like somehow take care and inspire them.
Yeah, even if they become animals, these people, if they get some prasad or somebody chants to the, like we were saying, Prabhupada chant to the bug, like they'll go down to the hellish planets and become animals. So, but the devotees are more merciful, so
Correct.
try to liberate everyone.
Yes, that's the mission. Yeah. Yeah, we like the happy, yeah, that everybody should become devotee, right? Nobody should be this material existence and we are suffering, everybody's suffering here. It is suffering, but Maya has covered it so nicely that we think like we are enjoying. That's how it is. Or suffering is going to come and we are going to, everything is going to go away, right? It's all like a dream. This whole life is like a dream and everything is going to, we are going to go from all our people that we know and everything else around us, everything is going to change. But we are living as if like this is never going to happen. We are not preparing for that moment until it is forced upon us. So voluntarily we have to like prepare ourselves for that situation where we will. So voluntarily we have to become detached from things. And so many things that are there. So it's very
Like
difficult.
the three goods to hell, right? Lust, anger, and greed. So if you maintain the anarthas, we will ultimately go into these hellish planets or become like non-devotees like these, who are averse to bhakti.
The only problem is that they are so deeply ingrained in us, deeply rooted in our heart, so deeply rooted. Of course, everybody is different, so can't speak for everybody because many are like on the verge of going back to this is the last life. They are just free from all the. They've just taken another birth to finish. They have done 99% in their past life, and they're just 1% left. So, but this is so. Uh, these tendencies are so deep rooted in our heart. That's why we really, really have to take shelter of Krishna. Narsingadev especially, to remove all these obstacles which are so deep rooted. Om Namo Bhagavate Narsingaya. Namastejas Tejase Aviravir Bhava Vajranakha Vajradanstra Karma Shenlandaya Om Swaha. Not just by reciting the prayer, but actually we have to feel, we have to pray very intently to Narsingadev, because he's the remover of obstacles of the path of bhakti. So we have to say, we have to cry to the Lord, Krishna, please remove these obstacles on my, please remove all these tendencies from my heart. I really, really want it, but I am helpless to do so on my own. So you make the arrangement. So that's how only, that is the Tatra Laulyam Api Mulyam Ekalam. Not only to get bhakti, but to also remove the obstacles to bhakti. There should be a strong desire to remove the obstacles to bhakti. And we know from reading scriptures and everything, what are the obstacles. As you were saying, if we chant Hare Krishna, we will come to know of our impurities. Things like that. And we want to get rid of them. It's there, but of course we have to be patient. But every day we have to pray to Krishna. Like Prabhupada says, I'm always praying. I never fall down. So to take shelter of Krishna. And we should know our shortcomings, our anarthas, and what is there. We have to work on those anarthas and pray to Krishna to give us the intelligence, to give us the strength. Balram. So, okay, so this is like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, you are rowing and rowing, but the boat is not moving forward because the anchor is not removed. So that is, anchor is all the obstacles which are the on the path of bhakti. Okay, I'm going to stop there. Thank you, everyone. Any other comments?